Let me go live here. All right, we're live. This is episode 4 of the Homegrown LiBEERtarian podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bennett, and I've got two wonderful people on tonight, and we're just going to talk about election. We're going to predict the election. Okay, it's just a fun thing, maybe 5, 10, 15 years down the road, we'll look back at this and we'll go, we were way off, or we were near point. So whoever wants to start first, tell me how you found libertarians or how you found libertarianism. And the next segment, we'll just talk about the upcoming election.
Eric.
All right. So I've always been kind of felt more independent versus the Democrat and Republican parties. I did vote for the last time I voted for one of the two major parties was Obama's first term. And then I felt very lied to. I felt like, I was voting for maybe anti-war or better immigration policies or a lot of things that didn't come to fruition. Some actual change that just never happened. The deportations really hurt. I felt like I voted for someone that hurt someone, so I felt kind of, partially responsible or whatever you want to call it for other people, feeling hurt. And I just never wanted kind of that feeling again. So I found, the Libertarian Party being, more the non-aggression principle, don't hurt others, don't take their stuff. I really agreed with that. That really aligned with me. But I'll be honest, I went online and found myself in some of the libertarian groups on Facebook, and it was just it very not the. It didn't feel like the same culture I was sold. It felt like it was there was more hate in some of those spaces than I would have liked. So I kind of stepped in and out, a bunch of times, never really got involved until this year, really. So this year, it was kind of a long, I guess, winding road, but I'll try and shorten it up. So basically, a couple of folks that I follow were talking about some of the national political stuff, and Spike Cohen, and I looked into that. I looked into Vermin Supreme. Vermin Supreme and Spike were running together at the time when I started looking into this. And I thought it was amazing. I've followed Vermin for a while. I'm in Massachusetts, so he always, ends up somewhere in the New England area doing something fun. So I've heard of him, seen him, and I love, I guess, the antics that come along with trying to make sure people are paying attention to some of the horrible stuff that's going on. So, I reached out to, I think about at the same time, really, Des, to work on anything I could with the Vermin Supreme Institute, and then Caitlin Cloven with Spike Cohen's social media team. And from, ever since then, I've had a ton of fun. I get to work with some incredible people. I'm now working on Ian Peake's campaign. I'm his social media manager, along with Des, working on that campaign as well. And then with VSI, we do Disrupt the Vote. So I get to work with a ton of different candidates there, and not just libertarians, but we're working with a Green Party person as well. And it's fun. I think there's a lot of things that we can work on for kind of anti-duopoly stuff. And I don't want to steal too much of Des's thunder because VSI is a big part of what we're both doing. But it's so much fun. It's been great working with all these great people.
Awesome. I live in the same state as Ian Peake, by the way. So I'm from Springfield, Illinois. So Ian's a character. I finally got to meet him in St. Louis back in August. So so he's a character.
Yeah, he's great. Love working with him.
Yeah, he is great to work with. So, hi. It was kind of, I got to kind of echo what Derek said, kind of a long and winding road to get to the Libertarian Party. I always had a pretty, anti-authoritarian stance on many issues, and I'll just never forget being shocked at some of the things that I discovered were even political issues, as I kind of got older. But I was always kind of like a tree hugger type. Like I started the recycling program at our middle school. Just try to take some initiative with that sort of a thing. And, I'm 42 years old. This was a while ago. Recycling was pretty new. So, we did the best we could. And, I started going to protests when I was a teenager, and really just always kind of bought into the anti-authoritarian vibe. And, for me, it was a lot of it was, not just the tree hugging, but the social issues are really what kind of drove me here. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the West Memphis 3 case, but that's where I really, really, really started to get involved politically. And heard Ron Paul speak one time, and I was drawn by the logo with Revolution with Love backwards when he was running in 2012. I loved that. Started listening to some of what he was saying. I thought he was great. I've moved on in a lot of ways philosophically, but I will always credit with bringing me into the Libertarian Party. So for that, I am grateful, and I will always have some admiration and respect for him. But yeah, so like Derek said, we work on the Vermin Supreme Institute. I was Vermin's campaign manager. That was a blast. It was great. It was Vermin's first campaign. It took him a while to decide whether or not that's what he wanted to do. And when he decided he was going to do it, he went all in, and we had a really good time with that. So, very invaluable experience that I'm proud to have been a part of. And from then, the Vermin Supreme Institute was born, and a lot of the campaign staffers kind of shifted over to that and to various other campaigns as well. Some of them are some of the Disrupt the Vote candidates that Derek was talking about. It's just, yeah, we're rocking it. We're going to roll out some really great stuff with the Vermin Supreme Institute and with Disrupt the Vote in the coming year, actually. So yeah, all good stuff.
Awesome. Let me briefly tell you how I got into the Libertarian Party. I had just got out of boot camp, and I kind of removed myself from the army or whatever. It wasn't for me, and there were other things that were kind of going on off to the side. So I got out, and I was going to finally get involved more politically. Well, I had kind of gotten politically involved in '88, and that was Dukakis Benson, and then about mid '90s, '91, I realized that I wasn't really a Democrat. I always considered myself more of a more of a Democrat socialist, but it wasn't actually, I wasn't actually a Democrat socialist. I was more libertarian, and and so I went through this phase of, okay, well, I know what the Democrats are doing. I don't really trust the Republicans. So I went soul searching. So it was Labor Day weekend in '91. I'm flipping through the channels, just trying to find something to watch. And I come across this channel called C-SPAN. And right there on C-SPAN was the 1991 Libertarian Party convention in Washington, D.C. So I was like, okay, I heard of like Ron Paul because I had a friend who was a libertarian back in '88, and he went to the Ron Paul rally here in there in Denver, Colorado, where I lived. So I was just like, oh, libertarians, So I was watching the convention, and up comes a black gentleman who was running for president at the time, and his name is Richard Body. And I got to meet Richard back in '97 at the Colorado Libertarian Party convention. And and I credit him for bringing me into the party, basically. So that next day, I called up the headquarters, and I'm like, "Hey, how do I meet these libertarians?" So they're out. They said we're at the Carl Convention Center, and trying to get our candidate on the ballot for next year. So Andre Maru wound up getting the nomination, and I wasn't quite convinced of this libertarianism, so I tried to go back to the Democrats one more time. Back in '92 during the primary, I worked on the Bill Clinton campaign in Colorado, and I got a lot of knowledge about how campaigns are run and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Until I read what he wanted to do for America. And one of them was Hillary Care. Well, we wound up finding out it was Hillary Care. Okay. Because she was the one that wrote the healthcare initiative originally for Bill Clinton. I did not like that at all. And there was a couple other things I just didn't like. Okay. So I went back. Well, actually, after Bill had gotten the nomination, I got a call back from the campaign saying, hey, how would you like to be work in Colorado, for the campaign for 4 months? I was like, I can't quit my job. They're like, don't worry about it. We'll pay you good to be on this campaign. I turned it down. I didn't give a reason. I just turned it down. My heart wasn't in it. I did not. And I went full blown petition. Helped when Andre Maru came to Denver. I helped out, wherever I could. When Nancy Lord came, I helped out then too. When she came to Colorado. Then I kind of took a null in campaign. Well, then I started helping a lot of other local people, and I got more immersed. I started reading more books, like Libertarian in one lesson and Economics in one lesson. Those are the first two books I ever read. I didn't really dive into the Ayn Rand stuff until the late '90s. So like Atlas Shrugged, Fountainhead, stuff like that. So in 2004, I was Aaron Russo's scheduling coordinator, and I helped out on the Badnarik campaign. And after the '08 campaign, where I where I did validity checks for the Bob Barr, to get Bob Barr on the ballot, I said, no, I can't do it. Bob Barr was a low in our party's history. To me, it is. So I stepped away for a little bit. Plus, I had a family and stuff like that. And then this year, I wasn't going to get involved. Okay, I was not going to get involved. I had my choices of who I wanted to be our nominee, and I said, and even after Joe got the nomination, I said, I'm not going to get involved. It's just going to be the same old, over and over again, until Spike Cohen threw me a curveball. All right, he threw a better curveball than Clayton Kershaw. All right. I saw this video. Okay. When he's talking to the BLM people in Columbus, Ohio, and he was nice. He was polite. He answered their questions. He wasn't like braiding them or in their face or just how libertarians can be. Okay. I mean, we are them. So, and I was just like, oh my God, someone's actually talking to black folks and running on a national holy cow. I have to admit, I almost, so uh the week afterwards, after seeing that, well, after that, people started going, well, he's talking to black people, he's the libertarians called Marxists, blah 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 blah. And it's just like, really,
Yeah, right.
and
Yeah.
it's about 20%, the 20% of the morons out there. Okay, all right, uh, um, closet, probably closet uppers or whatever. So, so I was like, this is great. This is great. And then finding out that there's a guy up in Chicago area who's running as a libertarian for State House 78, Josh Flynn. Okay, and I was like, and then you find out about Ricky Harrington down in Arkansas. All right, and I'm like, where are all these brothers coming from? So I got back on board. I hopped on the Illinois for Joe campaign. Unfortunately, I lost my job right in the middle of the campaign, and I had to
Oh
really
no.
concentrate more on trying to find a job. But that's my role. I mean, yeah, I'm what would probably be, would probably say that I'm an old head in the party. I know people that have been around older than I am. So so that's my road, okay? And it's uh and then how I met Desiree was on one of the Supreme calls. So and I was just like, I like these people. These people are pretty cool. They're the future. They're the future of the party. So, and I've never been one of those. Well, I'm a Mises person or I'm an audacious person. I've usually just tried to stay caucusless. Okay, because I think that's, to me, that's the independent spirit of things. Because I think there's decent people across the board. They just
Yeah.
get mixed up in in certain things. But so that's my road, and I'm glad you guys were able to be part of that road and get things forward from there.
Can I speak
Definitely.
to the caucus thing real quick? Because I am shamelessly audacious caucus, as you know. And
I know you are.
and I see what you're saying, and I have a lot of friends who feel that way, and I respect that perspective a lot. And I have been accused of collectivism for participating in it, but the point of like the audacious caucus is a lot of the people that wound up there are people who are the misfits, who like various people or uh, groups or whatever we're trying to purge. And so for us, it was it was really helpful to have that kind of like siblinghood with one another to wade through it all together. And I have to say it's been really helpful for me. If I hadn't discovered the Audacious Caucus, if the Audacious Caucus had never happened, I don't know that I would still be here, because there was a while where I felt very unwelcome, because I do
I,
believe in
I,
go ahead.
I understand, and
Yeah.
with me, it was like the only ones that I really knew of were the radicals and the pragmatists, and I was in the radical caucus for a long time,
Yeah.
And then I realized after a certain amount of time being in there, I started labeling the control freak caucus. Um, and
common
and and
common
and it, and not to diss them. Okay, they got their problems too,
mm,
and and the pragmatists, they have their problems too. So
out of the
to
audacious.
me, and we all do. Okay, we all do. But I like to keep that independent spirit in mind. Okay, but I want to be friends with everybody. Or who if you
Yeah.
don't have a problem with me, I don't have a problem with you. That's what it comes
Absolutely.
down to. So,
Yeah.
all right. The next part of this, predictions for the election.
A shit show.
Oh, okay. The first prediction. What's going to happen first? Will we have someone declared by Wednesday morning, or is this going to prolong for weeks?
I don't know if it's going to prolong
Go
for
ahead, Derek.
weeks.
I know you want to say something.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's going to prolong for weeks, but we're definitely not going to have an answer Wednesday morning for sure. But I believe it will be at least a week of trying to figure out. So I guess 30, it might be 30, but 30 plus, let's say, states require the ballots to at least be received by election day. So those states, I think, will kind of figure their stuff out before Wednesday morning or around Wednesday sometime. The other states that don't have, just have to be postmarked or have to be en route or whatever their laws state. I see those ones taking a little bit longer to actually even receive the votes and then get those counted and get those tallied. There's the obvious COVID restrictions that are making things a little difficult as well. And I think people are early voting. You look at the numbers; there are a lot of folks that are coming in really early, and I think what we could see, and not to jump into a different topic, but we could see, let's say the Biden folks doing very well in early voting, or having, or the Trump folks, let's say, and then having it flip the switch, and maybe seeing the other side jumping up and getting a lot more votes. I think you definitely have two different kind of rhetorics in the two major parties when it comes to the COVID restrictions and when it comes to voting by mail, when it comes to voting early. And I think you could see kind of that swap as soon as the mail-in ballots and stuff are counted versus the in-person and day ballots are counted. And I think, in libertarian circles, it seems kind of mixed as far as the feelings on mail-in voting and things like that. So I don't know what those results, if we'll get most of those early, if we'll see a big surge later on. We'll have to see on that one.
Okay. Anything you want to add to that, Desiree? Or are you completely okay?
No,
All
I
right.
agree. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Who's gonna win it all?
Well, it does start with this one.
My opinion on that changes daily. It really does. And I kind of have a really small window of any of knowledge when it relates to how things are actually going. I think a lot of the Trump people are going to stay Trump people. I mean, it's a very cultish thing. They like to go pound their chests and pound their beers and and do and say horrible things all the time and feel emboldened to do so. It could be that maybe they're just a louder minority now. Who knows? But I do believe that I think a lot of his supporters are going to stay his supporters. There are people that I know in not just like on Facebook or whatever, but like in my community who are Trump supporters that are even reasonable people, and they have their reasons for supporting him. And I'm not going to go and yell at them or shame them or anything, but which I never would anyway. But it's just really hard to tell. I mean, I also live in rural Texas, and the news that I see is tailored to me. It's really hard to predict, but I saw, like, I don't know how much y'all might have heard about the race in 2018 with Beto O'Rourke running against Ted Cruz. Beto had a very loud, passionate crowd of people, and he lost. I mean, narrowly, but he lost. And I see that being a possibility. Nothing shocking though. In 2016, I seriously thought this was Hillary's coronation. I had no idea. Like, Trump winning it, I was blindsided. My husband sitting there cackling the whole time, going like, "It's finally gonna burn," but and he was kind of right. It's burning. unfortunately, there are a lot of innocent people that are dying because of that. And that, so when I see people talking about voting for Biden for, harm reduction, I see their point, but that's the duopoly that we can get into. That's not the topic that we're talking about. We can get into that another time, of course, and we always do. It's just a ping pong game. I have no idea who's going to win it. It's anybody's game at this point. I don't believe Joe Jorgensen will, unfortunately, but it'll be one of the duopoly clowns. I'm just not sure which asshole it will be.
And just to follow up a tiny bit, like the scary thing for me, and I don't want to get too far down this hole, but I think as far as like the let it burn and seeing a person you might not want in power be in power with all of the power that Congress and the courts have given the presidency over the last 20 years is frightening. But the scarier thing in my aspect, from my point of view, is you don't hear Kamala Harris or Joe Biden talking about reducing the role of the president of the United States of America, even though they just saw what they don't want in that role and how authoritarian that can become with someone that does want to, kind of impose their will and right. I tried to say the same thing when Obama was in office. He wrote way too many executive orders, and it was scary how much power we've given the presidency. And I wish one side or the other would see that. And I don't think they will, because I do think behind the scenes they kind of reinforce each other more than they actually fight with each other. But
yes. Two sides of the same coin. Yep.
Yeah, and I really wish there'd be a voice to say we don't need this much power in one position. This is not what we started when we created this democratic republic, and this is not. We want a more representative government, not something that not even 50% of the country wants.
Joe Jorgensen says it, but
Yeah,
I know.
I'm going to say that if Trump loses, Biden will only be a one-termer. Okay, it'll shift hands back again in 2024. I don't see the Biden Harris team surviving 2 terms. It's just I think we're just going to rotate for a while. Okay, in that sense, if that's if but I think Biden's gonna pull it off by the hair of his chinny chin chin. Okay. But if Trump does win, okay, he'll keep the Senate, but the Democrats will be in the same hands. But if Biden wins, I see the Republicans staying with the Senate and the Democrat. So I like divide. I don't like government, but I like divided government. So
interesting.
It makes ways.
Yeah.
It makes ways. Okay, they've said under divided government, less bills get passed, less laws get passed.
Yeah.
Okay, because they can't agree on anything. So in that aspect, yes. But now on to Joe Jorgensen. Will she get the 5% or will she fall short?
I think that's tough. I mean, just having Gary and Weld as governors of 2 states, I think that did influence the numbers. I mean, you look at New Mexico's numbers for Libertarian Party, and it was significant. I think we'll still see a significant group of voters out of New Mexico. I don't think it'll be what we saw with Gary Johnson. I think my personal opinion, this is what I've said kind of since we kind of went away from selecting old Republican candidates, is we're now setting a new bar for activists and libertarians. We're no longer running either ex-duopoly candidates or whatever you want to call them. We're no longer, working within those bounds of we need their exposure or their connections or whatever. And yes, we will see a dip, But I want the Libertarian Party to be okay with that dip and say, okay, we are now running activists and libertarians. We are going to continue to do that and build on that, because then we are not alienating one whole group of people from, say, left entryism. We're not excluding those folks and making the world think that we're just rejected Republicans, or Republicans who smoke weed, or whatever you want to call it. I think we can then become a party that pulls from both sides, and maybe we don't agree on everything day one, but we can show them that anti-authoritarianism can achieve the same goals. I truly think we have similar goals to the AOCs of the world and some of the folks on the left, just as much as Thomas Massey would say some deregulation things that we very much agree with. I think that people immediately shut them out because of some of their centralization plans or whatever for economics, because I think that's the only way they see the way forward to gain a more equal space for everyone, when in reality it hasn't worked out in the past, and it's shown to actually create more of a disparity between different races, different even gender, sexual orientation, or income levels. I think more government has shown us that it doesn't get better with more government. And I just think once some of those folks who do believe in the end goals, but maybe not are set on the way to get there, I think we can sell them on libertarian principles just as well as we can sell people who want to deregulate and lower taxes.
I think that, excuse me.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and I think that with Joe, I don't believe we'll get to the 5%, but I agree with Derek. I don't think we should despair. One thing that I really respect and admire about the way this campaign has been run is that, it's Steve Dosbach is her campaign manager. He's retired, so he's actually volunteering. And he was even told, like, when they went to go sign all the paperwork and stuff, when she won the nomination, he was told, like, no, you have to collect a salary. Like, and he was like, no, I don't. And he's a really good guy. He really cares about the party. He's a longtime libertarian. He's been here like almost as long as I've been alive. And he's been taking a lot of hits, even from people that I really like and respect, and I see where they're coming from. But bigger picture here, is he wanted this campaign to be run by and for libertarians, and didn't want to bring in the duopoly experts and so on. He wanted it to be where the libertarians themselves, the people who are doing the legwork day in and day out and putting their blood, sweat, and tears into this party, leave this campaign with a skill set that they didn't have before. And that to me is a beautiful thing. It's respectable. It's and I know that probably some mistakes have been made along the way and so on, but that's okay. That's just how learning goes. And I do believe Furman would have gotten the 5%, or I wouldn't have asked him to run to begin with. And but we would have had bumps in the road too. We had a ready campaign team. We were already campaigning as if we were in the general, but Jo Jorgensen is our nominee. As soon as she won, Vermin made a generous donation to her campaign and endorsed her. And they did wind up hiring a lot of Vermin's team. So hats off to them. They made it a unity campaign, and we had unity candidates who are bridging the divide. I mean, Spike is more of a right libertarian in like the literal sense of the words.
Yep.
The word, but he knows how to message to the left, because he doesn't just have a brain, he has a heart, and he sees the plights of people who have been just disenfranchised and who have been harmed by big government. And he's done a really great job of messaging, and speaking to people's hearts as well as to their minds. And I'm really, really proud of my friend. And I thought about it, like, I don't think it really hit me that the impact of, like, holy shit, I get to vote for my friend on for the second highest office in the country. Like, that's pretty freaking crazy. It's like surreal. So I don't know. Right. I don't think we'll get the 5%, and I think there's going to be a lot of growing pains, but I think they're necessary. And I love that, we went with somebody who is actually a libertarian and not an ex-Republican governor or whatever. I feel like it's a mistake to try to emulate the duopoly. We don't set ourselves apart that way. I'm a little afraid that in 2024, I'm already seeing people talk about Justin Amash. At least he switched to the Libertarian Party, but still, he has some very Republican perspectives on issues that I can't let go of. But that's that's another rabbit hole. So
Yeah.
with that,
Right.
turning the floor back
Right.
over.
Since I've been involved a little bit longer than you two, okay.
A lot longer.
Joe Jorgensen actually was Joe Jorgensen actually is the first libertarian presidential candidate since Harry Brown. So, and I remember the Harry Brown days, and but during the Harry Brown days, there were a lot of opportunists behind the doors, and people chide like Hornberger for exposing them back in 2000, but there was a reason, because that reason was which made Hornberger step away from libertarian politics after that, okay, because he envisioned the Libertarian Party being for libertarians, not these castaway ex-Democrat politicians and Republican politicians. Okay, which we wound up getting after the whole Bednarik debacle. Okay, with Bob Barr, which was the only time I never voted Libertarian. I left that ballot blank. Okay, for president. Wow. because I could not vote for Barr Root. Okay, especially after the Conservatarians took over the party, literally. Okay, and destroyed it for a while. And I thank the younger generation, the newbies that are coming up, for kind of saving the party a little bit, because they've become a lot more, they're more libertarian like, in a sense. I mean, the old heads, the ones that have been in it since the 70s and 80s and stuff like that, they're going away, they're dying. Okay, the ones that kept the party afloat, and then the younger ones like me, okay, that were around in the 90s and the early 2000s, we're kind of trying to keep things afloat, but we need more and fresher blood to keep it going. And that's the reason why I was so enthusiastic to see Spike actually stepping out of the box and talking to people that most libertarians would not even talk to. So that was great. I like to see a little bit more diversity in the party, and stuff like that. And diversity doesn't mean, to these assholes out there, excuse my language. Oh, it's my podcast. I don't have to worry about it. Saying that, you don't have to. You shouldn't reach out to them. They're going to turn us Marxist. Ooh. And I go, if you feel that way, go back to the Republicans. Okay, if you seriously feel that, the Constitution Party. We shouldn't have so many gay, lesbian people in the party, or we shouldn't have all these types of people in the party. Is like, you know what, if you don't like what's going on in Libertarian Party, there's other parties out there that would serve your needs. Okay, this is a Libertarian Party. That means we're libertarians. We're not conservatarians. We're not fake-tarians or creeper-tarians or whatnot. We are libertarians. All right.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, bye. It's not going to hurt me none. So
Bye, Felicia.
just get off my rant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
There's some non-presidential races that are looking pretty good. We've got Harrington down in Arkansas. I don't think he's actually going to pull it off, but he'll be. I'm predicting it's going to be like 56-44. I think he'll get 44% of the vote. There are a lot of Republicans out there down there. Yes, and I've seen a lot of Republicans through the chat boards or whatever, like moderate Republicans or that don't like Cotton at all. They do not like him at all because of the things that he has said. And I've seen, and the ones who do support Cotton are your hardcore Republican, Trump humpers, basically. So 56-44 is going to be my prediction on that race. And that will be
money on that?
Monumental.
I think so too. I think it's going to be very, a lot closer than people originally thought. I think there will be some. I don't think it's going to be a large number, but I think there'll be a small percentage that goes to I think it's a Democrat write-in candidate that's running as well. But I think it's going to be small. I really think there's a lot of people behind Ricky's platform, Ricky's policies that he's talked about, and Cotton is one of the scariest Republicans in office. I mean, talk about authoritarian. Republicans being about small federal government. He says exactly the opposite every time you hear a soundbite from him. I mean, he's all for sending in the National Guard to arrest people and all these horrible things, and not to mention the horrible racist stuff that he said over and over. He's not what they should aspire to be if they are trying to be a different, better party or whatever going forward, if they even care about that. I'm interested to see what happens in the Republican Party, if it splits, if there's a Trump group and a more moderate Republican, Romney and all those folks group. Who knows? But I really do think Ricky's got a great shot at getting close. I do think he will fall short, just looking at the polls. But man, he's running a great campaign. He's getting a lot of attention, and I think it's doing nothing but great things for the Libertarian Party. I would want him as a voice, and this is, this is from someone that I don't agree 100% with on everything, for sure. But he is still a wonderful person who's trying to do the right thing. And it's just his version of the right thing is slightly different than mine. It doesn't mean I don't want to see him do well. I want to see him do extremely well. I would love to see him win. It would be one of the most exciting things about this election season by far.
Agreed. Yeah,
I agree. And I watched that one-man debate basically, and I wrote things down as he was speaking. I was just like, but at the same time, though, if it were a three-man race, he could actually divulge more into the libertarian aspect. But I see what he was doing since it was a two-man race. Okay, so he had to say something that makes sure that he got the Democrats in that state on board. Okay, so those liberal Republicans. Okay, so I get it. He's playing politics. Okay, and I wrote some things down. I was just like, but then I scribbled it out and I go, I know what he's doing. So
I
know exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
Right. That was he's going for the win. Okay. And and we all should. We should all act like, we all should go in if we're running for office and win. That's the ultimate goal, is to win. Not to, oh well, I got 2%. That was better than last time. Blah blah blah. You should always go into something to win.
I ran for Congress in 2018 and got less than 2%.
Well, I just real quick on that. I'd like to. There is a win. There's small wins that I think we really can push the two major parties if it is. I'm in Massachusetts. The Democratic Party wins time after time. It is a very blue state, and it's very hard to influence things. But a win for us can mean legalizing marijuana. A win for us can mean, the state recognizing polyamorous relationships. A win can mean many different things, and I think as long as we're focused on small wins as much as big wins, like I believe winning the candidacies are exactly what we should be fighting for. But I think there are small wins that we can do great things with and help people today while we're building the party to that 50% and plus level.
Yeah, for me, a lot of it's about getting the message out there, and especially to the people that need to hear it, that might not, if you don't have the loudspeaker of being a candidate. And that's the whole reason I ran in 2018. And unfortunately, some of my life circumstances changed when I was running, and I couldn't do as much as I had wanted to. And I'm just a crappy candidate all around. Like, I won't do it again because I recognize that my talents are behind the scenes and not as a candidate, as a direct messenger to the people. But damn it, I really, I wanted to make the world a better place, and I tried that and found that I wasn't good at it, and there are others who are, and that I should really just focus on supporting them. And another, well, there are a couple of candidates real quick that I'd like to bring up, and they're in your state, Chris, I think have a really good shot at winning. Sasha Cohen has a really good shot at winning.
Yeah.
Ian Peake, it's looking better and better every day. And I mean, I'm just so impressed with how well his campaign has gone, especially with COVID and, and then Ian having like employment issues and his schedule went completely awry and so on. But we've just rolled with the punches, and I don't know, he might actually pull it out. That'd be great. Sasha Cohen, though, I think he's gonna do it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Also look at Josh Flynn. His opponent just started campaigning this week. She thought she had it in the bag. Okay.
Yeah, Josh just got endorsed by the Chicago
Madigan's latchkey. Okay, basically. All right. She thought she had it in the bag until she found out that Josh had a team out in the polls every day. Okay. He had his team, cover that whole district, which is 108,000 people, 3 times. 3 times. Okay. Every door got hit. Okay. So watch out. He may pull off a stunner too. So Joe Pett said that he thinks Brad Barnes gonna beat McConnell.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That'd be great. Yeah,
that would be great. I think
it's interesting.
So
he's in Kentucky.
So I mean,
go ahead.
Right.
They're conservative AF.
Would that be interesting?
Brad has run a really good campaign, and he's actually tried to be reasonable about his libertarian stances rather than being like, kind of shock value in your face candidate, which he knows isn't going to work. And I kind of gave him shit about that, to tell you the truth. I mean, but he's doing such a great job, and he had to raise $100,000 to get into that debate. So, I mean, hats off. And I got to respect that. Him and his team have done an amazing job.
Also,
he and his team. Sorry, I know Brandon.
Also, there's another person. there's another person in the state next to me over in Indiana, Donald Rainwater, has a good shot too. So we're the Libertarians have been putting out some really decent candidates this year on the down ballot races. So I mean, I think
and recruiting some great teams.
If we just continue the right, and after the election, this is me, okay, and I've been saying this for years, okay. After the election, we take a little breather, get through the holidays, you know. But once the holidays once the holidays, are over, we need to start over again because the off election years where we have like city council races, and all that kind of stuff is another opportunity because a lot of those races are non-partisan.
Yeah.
You don't have to have an L or an R or a D or a G or whatever next to your name. So you could we need to really focus on that. Get more people elected on the local level. Okay, keep running the people that we need to keep running. Okay, and I personally would like to see LP have a goal in 2024. Okay, and it's not far off from what we got now. I would like to see the LP have 400 elected officials by 2024.
That'd be wonderful.
I don't think that's
it's not far off.
awful, Mark.
No, that's
So, just real quick, while you're talking about the municipal races, I would love for us to give a shout out to I just spaced on her name, Cassandra. I want to say Fry.
Fryman.
I didn't even know her.
Fryman,
Okay, yeah.
Fryman,
She anyway, I just kind of met her on Facebook recently, but she just dismissed every traffic ticket in her city. Libertarian AF. I love it. That's amazing.
That's awesome.
And these are things we can do in these local offices. I mean, I had some people in my county try to convince me to run for city council, but I just don't want to. I really don't. I don't think I'd be good at it. I'm not good at budgets. I'm not good at, and you have to swallow a lot of statism to be in it. And I'm just not that pragmatic. I'm not. I know myself. So, but I wouldn't mind pretty people can.
Yeah.
And I think I'm in that same boat with you, Desiree. I'm good with budgets. I'm good with laying things out or whatnot. But I'd be a horrible candidate because I'd be like, I want to slash this. 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 This is unnecessary. This could be provided in the private sector. This. And once I got elected, I'd probably be assassinated within 2 weeks. So, I'm the guy that. Yeah. So I'm the type of person that would be behind the scenes myself, and I've run for office before, and I was just like, I like the behind the scenes work myself. So.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge piece. I think without it, we fail. Without the strong backbone of the campaign teams, the staff, the technical skills that are needed nowadays, even just trying to navigate the financial stuff. I mean, that takes people with skills or at least knowledge, at least past knowledge of those campaigns that we've done.
Or willing to learn, which
exactly.
I managed a governor campaign in we started in 2017 and it was for the 2018 nomination. And this was a more audacious, street activist candidate. And of course we were met with a lot of resistance, but at the end of the day, when we got to the convention, because we showed up with so many supporters, and people got to see oh, his tactics do work. I actually do have respect for what you guys have done. We actually wound up losing by 6 votes to a more kind of establishment guy, but it wasn't the same nominee that we'd had the prior 2 sessions who was running again and recruiting hard. And I don't know why she does it, but she does it for her ego or something. I'm not sure what her agenda is. But like, we actually got to show people like, hey, audacious tactics do work. You can run a street activist, and it's very effective. And how about we stop trying to mimic the duopoly? I feel like that lesson was kind of learned in 2018, but then kind of lost. But I also haven't been as involved in my state party as I had been in the past, because I was working on a national campaign. I had no idea what I was doing with either of those campaigns, but I sat there, with a statewide campaign or a national campaign. I sat there, I did my research. There was trial and error. We tried, of course, different things than of course, the duopoly would. And we've found that a lot of these things are effective. I can't take a lot of the credit for Vermin, though, actually, because he already had built his following, and he'd been doing that for almost 4 decades. But to try to make him palatable to libertarians was a challenge, and we had a great team. And Vermin did a phenomenal job of actually like revealing his true self, which was really, really cool, But and that is the thing with, a candidate has got to be a good candidate, willing to take chances, willing to put themselves out there. And that's a hard thing to do for a lot of people, but their staffs have to as well. And a lot of the times they're volunteering. Right. And so shout out to all these campaign staffers on all these teams, because I'm sure most of them are volunteers.
Right. I mean, all the 99% of the campaigns I've been ever been involved, I never got paid. I might, have had like a couple of dinners or whatever that the candidate paid for, but the only one I really got paid for was back in 2004 on the Aaron Russo campaign for president, and they just paid for a hotel room or something, and but other than that, and this is what I went to school for, literally, to run campaigns, And in 2008, the recession hit, and then I went back to school to get my MPA in public administration. I know how government works. Okay.
Yeah.
I studied it for 3 years. I know how it works,
It's
and
a scary
especially
beast.
here in it's a scary beast. You're right. And especially here in Illinois, if you learn politics in Illinois, you're going you make it anywhere else, okay? Because Illinois is one of the worst. Okay, the worst.
Pretty bad. So, we've learned
that. So if you know what goes down in Illinois, okay, and you got it down to a kind of a T, every other state, just about every other state's a breeze. So
New York is pretty bad
but
too.
That is yeah. So that's what originally what I was going to do with my degree. I was going to manage libertarian campaigns until I realized libertarians ain't got no money. So libertarians ain't got no money.
We're shifting that, though.
Or no,
we're shifting that. I think
or the fact that no one wanted me on their campaign. There are times when people didn't want me. They're like, no, well, you can't help me out, blah blah blah, and it's just like, okay, well, so I got discouraged, and and when I joined the Joe Jorgensen in Illinois, the guys that were running it, they're like, we don't know what the F to do. Okay. So I suggested a few books, and they're just like, are you sure you're not the one that's supposed to be doing this? And I was just like, nah, I'll assist and whatever and stuff
it's
like
all
that.
You.
So yeah, it's all you. I have a lot of responsibilities, so I'll do what I can and stuff like that. So maybe this might be an entryway back into doing something, because this is what I wanted to do. Okay, And
Yeah.
if
Awesome.
libertarians consistently get elected, they're going to look for people who have the experience.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not
Absolutely.
going to say they're going to knock down my door, or they're going to email the crap out of me, but there will be opportunities for everybody. So
Yeah. Let's hope so. I mean, we want our candidates and activists to have the ability to focus on these things full time. And, money is how we do that. And I do see that shifting just in the short time that I've been in the party, which is, is about a decade, almost a decade.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess next spring it'll be 10 years. So, but Chris, I understand that, you came in like kind of guns blazing, going like, I want to do this. And like, this is how I can help the party. I can help them like actually professionalize and get themselves out there and so on. But yeah, we don't have any freaking money, but we're getting there. We're getting like, I mean, my goodness, Brad Barron raised $100,000 just to get on the debate stage, not to mention what he's raised since. That's phenomenal. And we need to raise more. I get that. But, we're getting there and we're making strides. And I think we need to celebrate our successes along the way. And I'm really glad that you're back. I don't want to get tangenty, but, I admire your passion and you are, you just, I find you extremely inspiring. So to me, I'm just really glad that you're back, and I'm ashamed for the reason that you felt like you couldn't be here anymore. So I'm just glad you're here.
Well, thank you. Any final thoughts, final predictions before we wrap up here?
Like I said earlier, a shit show. We can count on that.
I have a quick final thought on improving, or I don't want to. I have a quick final thought on just like the building, for the future, and I think it starts with, and this is scary for a lot of libertarians, it's scary for a lot of people, but I think coalitions are really how we get there. If we have every single libertarian in a certain region voting for us, we're never going to win an election. There's just not enough people that have been exposed to the message or exposed to our party that. We need to pull from the left and right. We need to pull from our Green Party candidates as well. We need to work with them. If, a Green Party candidate is running for sheriff, for instance, like VSI is working on, libertarians and Green Party believe very similar things in criminal justice reform. And those kind of coalitions need to exist at the local level. We need to be working with our fellow anti-authoritarians, even if we disagree on some stuff economically or some stuff with gun rights or whatever. If it doesn't pertain that and we don't have a person running in that election that is a libertarian or a green or whatever, we should be reaching out to those other people in those other parties, kind of a bottom mutiny stance, but also just a anti-authoritarian stance. Really start building bridges instead of burning them everywhere we go.
True.
Hashtag smash the duopoly.
Smash it.
Well, we do have the last EMP campaign call ever that we have to get on. I'm sad. I'm gonna miss this campaign.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna make one final. I'm gonna make a final prediction is that Joe Jorgensen will do better than Gary Johnson did in 2012. That I think
I don't disagree.
I don't disagree either.
Okay. Well, thank you to coming on with me. I appreciate it.
Good times.
Hopefully, in the future, you'll be able to come on. And my name's Chris Bennett. You have been watching the Homegrown LiBEERtarian episode. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks.